Have you ever tried trading in TF2, but you can't figure out what items are good or bad? This is an extremely common constraint many traders face when starting out. And I have my own share of bad trades that I look back on with regret. Like one time, I remember buying an Aces High vintage Merryweather for 30% off back in early 2017, and I thought that I finally hit the jackpot of making profit orders trading YouTube videos told me to do. I managed to buy an unusual quick sell for 30% off, and now it was time to re-quick sell because it wasn't a very good hat. But in actuality, it was a bad deal. I found out when I asked this high tier trader, which was an admin of an Australian in-game TF2 unusual trade server called ZTG. I wrote in a text chat, "Was this a good deal?" And he immediately said over voice chat, "Oh nah man, I'm sorry but it's not very good to be honest, you might have to quick sell it for possibly less than what you paid." Then disappointment surrounded my mind like always. I tried ignoring his advice by selling it for one key more than what I paid for it, yet I wasn't receiving any offers whatsoever. And finally, after 6 weeks, I finally sold the Aces High Vintage Merryweather for half a key profit. I was happy that I made a little bit of profit, but it took unbelievably long to sell for such little return. I knew I could have done so much more with the keys I invested, but I just didn't know what items were good or bad. It wasn't until 2020 where I started getting really good at trading, just from my own experience, and I could instantly spot what were the bad deals much more quickly. Nowadays, it's rare that I buy bad deals, and it takes me seconds to spot what makes a deal bad, and I can use my time more efficiently to buy a good deal instead. Imagine if you could spot in the TF2 trading market what to avoid in seconds, so you don't end up overpaying for a cancerous Aces High vintage Merryweather like I did. That's one of the principles I didn't understand for years and years before I figured out myself what I was doing wrong. The good deals are always there every day, but you never see them like how I wasn't seeing them, and it all comes down to experience. In wanting to solve this problem, I've launched my school project where I personally help TF2 traders, you, achieve the backpack of your dreams just like how I did in the past. I hope that immersing yourself in a community of good people with the same goals as you, a skilled mentor, and excellent resources can prosper the harsh TF2 market filled with bad people. This is my way to offer you something great if you want to learn more about profitable trading, know how I do my stuff, or if you want to simply support the channel. See if you qualify by clicking the top link of the description now. And if you're unable to afford my premium service, I have just launched my free Discord server where you can chat with other people about TF2 trading as well, which is also in the description. Here are the 5 most important things you need to look out for in order to instantly spot bad deals. Number 1, price suggestions. The amount of people that message me for trading advice and they'll link me to an item asking if it's a good deal is plentiful. I'll use the Kilowatt Baron von Havana plane as an example. As it literally says on the stats page, there was a price suggestion accepted 1 month ago at 16 to 17 keys. So this means that this hat is likely to be worth around 16.5 keys at full price, as that's because that's what it sold for not too long ago. Yet people will ask me, is this a good buy at 18 keys? And I have to keep telling them no, look at the price suggestion. 16.5 keys is likely to be full price, as that's what consumers paid for recently. How could you be making profit buying at 18 keys if it's already a struggle to sell for 16 to 17 keys? It's one of the most common ways people can spot a bad deal, and that's if what you're paying for is above a price suggestion. Instantly 50% of the deals you look at you know are bad because the buyout is more than full price. Ideally, you want to pay less than this price suggestion for a hat, and then sell it for around the price suggestion, since that is what the community suggests the full price would be, and then you get to make the profit. If you buy for more than the suggested price, then you are likely to not make profit because you're buying for more than what most people are willing to pay for. And if the price suggestion is outdated, say more than 6 months ago, then look at the market and see if this price could be accurate still. Remember that the illiquid items you are flipping shouldn't be traded very frequently unless it has very high supply. Number 2, possible inflation. Another way to see if a deal is bad or not is to look at the buy orders. If you have seen in my previous video, I say over and over again that the most important thing in an item is aesthetic appeal. How good the item looks in someone's loadout will dictate most of its value. However, especially with the rise of trade bots in the market now, buy orders constantly overcut each other by 1 scrap to even a few keys every day. Many illiquid items in the market are gaining value, but it's not because of the supply and demand, but it's because of bot buy orders rising. If you see buy orders really high on a hat, even higher than previous price suggestions in the past, you should be cautious that bot activity is dictating the price instead of supply and demand. This is because no one is willing to pay more for the hat just because the buy orders are high. They wanted it for the aesthetic appeal and had a value in mind for what they would have paid. And everyone knows the quote, whatever comes up must come down. High buy orders have to eventually disappear down to generic price because the bots won't be able to sell the item if someone dumps to them, and you could be in a lot of trouble if you bought an inflated item and then buy orders crash. Therefore, avoid inflated items. Number 3, multiple sellers. Again, people keep asking me if certain deals are worth it to buy. And once I click on the link, there's 4 other bot sellers on backpack.tf classifieds and 3 sellers on marketplace.tf. It makes it several times harder if you have to compete with someone else, especially if they're a trade bot and you're selling your items as a human. Consumers have more options to choose from, and they put less scarcity onto this item and therefore value it less. You're prone to being undercut, and you don't know if the other sellers have bought their item for less than what you paid for your item and can list it much lower, screwing you over. It makes no sense to join a market that is full of sellers if you know that's gonna make it difficult for you to sell it and make profit. Therefore, as a general rule, you should just avoid markets that have more than one seller, and if an item you bought has an increasing number of sellers competing with you, then you should consider quick selling and look for something better. Number 4, no margin. Now, this is definitely up there in what defines a bad deal. The margin is the difference between what you bought an item for and the amount you're expecting to sell it for. So, if you buy an unusual for 20 keys and are confident it can sell for 26 keys because recent sales indicate so, your margin is 30%. And the maximum margin is the difference between what you paid for and what others are selling it for. If you buy something for 34 keys, but there's another seller at 40 keys, best case scenario, you will sell it for 40 keys because you can't beat them, and then you will have a 17.65% profit margin. You can calculate the percent margin by price sold divided by price bought. But oftentimes, I get asked if something is a bad deal and are provided with the absolute smallest margin to exist. For example, the suggested price of an unusual hat would be like 50 keys. Buy orders would be 40 keys, there will be a seller at 50 keys, and they ask me if it's a good deal at 46 keys. Like, no! 50 divided by 46 equals 8.7%. Are you really asking me if 8.7% profit is worth it after a few months of trying to sell something? My general rule is this. If you're someone who quick buys and quick sells, you should have a minimum of a 10% profit margin since you're being active and constantly flipping items every week or every other week. If you're someone who wants to be more patient, you buy deals and list it waiting for good offers, your absolute minimum profit margin should be about 20% since you're kicking back and can afford to wait. Items sell slower, but you don't need to put in nearly as much work as being active. Number 5, long listings. I bet 80% of you watching didn't even know this was a feature. If you're writing up a deal on backpack.tf, click where it says bumped X amount of time ago by user, and it will change to listed X amount of time ago by user. This is super useful information in knowing if something is worth buying or not instantly. Someone will ask me if something is a good deal or not, and it will say when I click on the bumped listing, listed 5 months ago. Think about it, if what you perceived was a good deal was listed 5 months ago, why wouldn't someone else already have bought it and flipped it? If something was listed 1 hour ago, this indicates it's a fresh listing and has potential. You'll need to use your other price checking skills to determine if it's good, but in this video we're just going to look at the bad deals. This is also useful if you're joining a market which has another seller. If you're looking to buy an item for 14 keys and match the other seller at 20 keys who has been there for over a year, then is it really a good deal? It very likely cannot sell for 20 keys anytime soon in the future, so consider your options of avoiding, listing lower, or negotiating for a lower price. And in doing this tactic, some people may relist their items so it appears that it was recently listed, and this is what trade bots often do. So if it looks super fresh, view the history and see how many days they've owned it for. Generally, how long they've owned it for is how long they've been trying to sell it for. So my general rule for listing prices is this. If you're buying an item as a deal from backpack.tf, make sure the listing is under 1 week old. If you're buying an item with another seller looking to match them, make sure their listing is under 3 months old. And that's all my tactics that I use to instantly determine if a deal is bad or not when trading in Team Fortress 2. Remember, if you're interested in trading up to your dream TF2 backpack without having to struggle alone in today's tough economy, click the top link of the description now. Thanks for watching this video, leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment on this video about the worst deal you've bought. See ya!